Hello and welcome back to My Dank Dog. This is week 4 of my Global Grow Cup Challenge 2024. Here's my plant, my early miss, and she's now under the Spider Farmer Evo SF2000 grow lights, and she's loving it, sunbathing. The strain is an early miss auto flower, and it's a cross between Big Bud, White Widow, and Ruderalis. She's awesome. Apparently this strain can be seed to harvest in as little as 7 weeks. And I didn't believe it at first, but now you see this after 4 weeks, I'm starting to be a believer. It's crazy that she's only 4 weeks old and she's in a 16-ounce cup. She's kind of growing like she's on steroids. She's gone absolutely nuts in the past week. It's crazy. Just these little buds forming everywhere on the plant. There's a few weird looking leaves that have started to come out recently, but all the other leaves are kind of like dark, really healthy. There's a few weird kind of like shaped droopy leaves that are starting to form right now. I don't know if that's the strain or there's something else. I'll keep an eye on it. But as you can see, all of the bud sites in the node area close to the trunk of the plant is just building up like crazy. She's got some trichomes forming as well there, or that's what it looks like, as well as these hairs and bud sites. There seems to be trichomes forming there. It's crazy. It's just nuts how many hairs and bud sites have formed in the last 7 days. It's hard to believe, but apparently in 3 weeks time she's going to be good to harvest. So if she grows at this rate, I can see it. I don't think it's going to be a very tall plant, but I think it's going to be very thick. And to just think that this is growing in a 16-ounce cup is mind-blowing. Really mind-blowing. So she has stretched out a little bit, but as you can see, she's just kind of packing it on. Really crazy how this is growing. So what I've actually done is I've taken another one of these plants and I've grown it. I've started to put it in a 5-gallon pot. I'm going to use these branches here. These are my first training branches. I'm going to bring them down to the rim of the cup. I'm going to move these bottom 3 leaves here. Take those off. I'll probably trim a few other leaves off as well, but they're going to be my first trained branches. And I have to train 15, or you get top points if you can train 15. I'm not quite sure how the rules will play out if you train 10. Maybe you'll just get less points. So let's start by taking a look at her. As I said, we're going to train this branch here and the one parallel on the other side of the plant there as well. They've kind of got weird droopy leaves on them, these 2 branches, but I'm going to trim a few leaves off and see if they kind of perk up. I'm going to trim these bottom leaves off for sure, and then probably the leaves just above the buds there, and make sure that there's enough light coming down so that those buds and all of the bud sites are starting to get adequate light. So as you can see, these leaves are super healthy, nice and crisp and dark. Really super healthy plant. And I haven't been feeding it that much. So I'd packed the cup. If you remember, I packed it with Fox Farm Ocean Forest and then a top layer of worm castings. And then I've been adding about a teaspoon of Gaia Green Organics 444 into about 2 liters of water and giving her a feed with that maybe twice a week, and the rest has just been distilled water. So she hasn't really even been fed that much nutrients realistically. It's mostly water on top of everything that was already in this cup, and she's doing really well. All of these leaves look healthy that I'm trimming off here. There's nothing sinister about anything. She doesn't seem to be having any deficiencies at all. So just going to trim these bottom ones off here as well. I'm not going to trim too much off. I don't want to stress her out. I just want to kind of start getting rid of some, but I don't want to go overboard because I don't know how this strain grows. It's kind of growing very short, stocky and bushy. And what I really want it to do is grow some legs like these 2 branches here so that I can start training. These are too small for me to put the bud clips on. So what I'm going to do is just put a bit of garden wire around them. and clip it to the rim of the cup here. So as you can see, I'm going to make 2 little hooks here. I'm just going to measure it out so that you can see. I'm going to hook it down and then cut the wire about there and bend it over and just literally do kind of like a hook onto the rim of the cup and see if I can bring those branches down parallel to the cup on each side. So as you can see, I'm just going to bend it over and then bend the wire up as well, and then I'll use that as a kind of little hook there. Put that on the rim of the cup. This should work. It should be strong enough. Yeah, there's just no space on her to use the bud clips at the moment. She's not very leggy. She's just kind of like all leaves and buds and quite short and stocky at the moment. So I'm just going to do the same on the other side here. Hook it over, measure it, and then make sure that I can just bend that up. Not sure what I'm going to do if she ends up being kind of short and stocky and no room to train. I'll train what I can, and that's all you can do realistically, isn't it? You kind of got to go with what the plant is saying to you. You try to make all of these plans, well, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and then the plant starts to grow and says, well, I want some of this and I want some of that. So you just kind of got to read and listen to the plant and, you know, be ready to improvise. So, okay, that's the only training that I'm going to do on this plant this week. I'm going to trim a few more leaves off to make sure that these bud sites that I've kind of exposed to the light don't get shaded by any kind of larger leaves at the top there, but she's looking pretty good. Yeah, I think I'm just going to take those 2 leaves off above on either side. This is what I've trimmed off so far. As you can see, all of those leaves are super healthy. There's nothing wrong with any of them. There she is. Let's take a close look at her. I'm just going to trim a few more off. Some of these little farty leaves at the bottom here. It's weird. Some of the leaves look very kind of like flat and crisp. And if you take a close look at some others, they seem to be kind of canoed, but not unhealthy. They just kind of look a little bit kind of farty. But that might have been that they've grown so quickly and some of them have had little light. So we will see. Now these leaves are exposed to the light. We'll see if they kind of like pert up a little bit and grow towards the light. But yeah, I'm just going to trim off some of these fartier little leaves underneath here and make sure nothing is touching the soil. And yeah, then go from there. Just neaten her up a little bit. What do you think, guys? Have you ever had a plant that's grown this fast? Have any of you guys ever had a strain that is apparently seed to harvest in 7 weeks or grown this fast? This is mind-blowing to me. And if I was to go back and understand that you could have plants that grew this quick, I'd probably choose one of these strains as my first grow, because you see the rewards in, or you see the potential of the rewards in, 3 to 4 weeks, as opposed to 3 times that. If I was a complete beginner right now, never grown a plant before, and I knew that it's harvested within 7 weeks, seed to harvest, I think that was probably be my first go at it. Okay, so I'm just going to chop this other large leaf off here. I think that'll be it. And she's going to be good to go. Now, I know I've had some comments saying, can you do videos on the nutrients that I'm using? But at the moment, I'm not really using a huge amount of nutrients on her. As I said, I've used about a teaspoon of Gaia Green Organics 444 in about a litre or 2 of water, and just been kind of topping it up every other day, maybe twice a week, I think. And the rest of it has just been clean, pure distilled water. And she's just feeding from everything that I'd put into the cup. Again, no roots are popping out from the drainage holes here. Everything looks clean. She looks nice and healthy, looking really good. So for those who are wondering what Gaia Green is, here it is. This is a small tub of it. You can buy big tubs of it. And yeah, it's been great so far. It does stink. When you put it in the water, it does smell. but apparently there's no nutrient burn from there. It's just purely organic and does its thing. I'm probably going to have to top up with Epsom salts at some point in time to give some of the calcium magnesium, but doesn't look like this plant needs anything at the moment. She's looking great. As you can see close up, that's how these little homemade clips are working on the rim there. So we'll check in on her in a week's time and we'll see how big these buds have grown. Thank you very much to Spider Farmer for my new setup, and thank you guys. Thank you very much for tuning in. Stay tuned for the next episode. Do appreciate all of the likes, all of the comments. They're awesome. Keep them coming, please. And I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.